Hey everybody, and welcome to Masters Class Episode 4. I am TBK Zord here with Juuki, and today we're doing a pre-recorded episode because poor Juuki's internet is not in the best of states.
It's damaged.
It is damaged. It is getting repaired.
Broken.
It is yeah. It's getting repaired tomorrow though. So
Yes.
So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk some strategy. We'll be covering Braxxis Drafting because, as I've seen in Hero League a lot, and then as you see really now, especially once HGC started back up, I feel like this map, drafting, is even more important than some other maps, just because it is so insanely snowbally, probably one of the snowballiest maps in the game right now. And so a good draft that will get ahead can just continue to keep you ahead the entire game. And then once we talk about that, we'll talk a little bit about XP and soaking in general, general rules for it, when you want to do it, when you want to be an objective, how best to do it, who should be doing it. As again, we're talking gold plat league here. I've had people yelling at other people for not being in places when their talent tier's down, or people just completely ignoring a lane or something, and all these little things add up a lot over time. So we're going to try and talk best practices. So it'll be a little bit of a shorter episode, but hopefully we'll get some good content. But Juuki, other than your internet, how are you doing today?
I'm doing a-okay, you know, just trying to just have the days go by really fast, so that way tomorrow my internet will be fixed, and then
Yep.
I will be happy again. But yeah,
It's
I'm
always
doing
sad
alright.
when you can't play HOTS for several days in a row.
Yeah, I'm gonna be super rusty when I come back, and when I'm gonna be playing on a new role as well.
Oh, what are you switching to?
I'm actually switching to support.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I'm actually been having a lot of fun playing support lately, so I'm
Yeah?
just like, you know what, why not? Like, I'm having fun even playing support in Overwatch. It's just fun. I don't know why. It's weird, but
Nothing wrong with
yeah.
that. I know, because last time we were together, you were talking about how much fun you're having with Kharazim.
Yeah, I was. I love hitting those palms. They feel fantastic. They feel great.
Oh my gosh. They had, on the HGC tonight, they had one of those, like, clips, like, top 5 things, and the Koreans just... There was a sulfurous smash coming down on somebody, and the palm was thrown on literally as the hammer hits and was just procced immediately. It was just so insane to watch plays like that.
That like those type of mechanics, those types that you see, it's just like, yeah, they feel. I really want to hit those. Like,
I
if
know.
I could hit those. Ooh, baby, that's me.
Yeah, that feels good, man.
Yeah, that feels really good.
That feels good. All right, well, let's jump into our Braxxis drafting discussion. So, and I don't know, you can disagree with me, but it feels like for Braxxis, just from a draft perspective, the draft you can choose is a little narrower than a lot of maps, just because you need a specific set of people. And we talked about, usually it's solo lane top and then 4-man bottom of some sort, and that 4-man is extremely important.
So yeah, as you just said, you need a solo laner and you need a really good 4-man. The way how you draft Braxis is by tier list, and I made this tier list, which you can put it in the comments later.
Sure.
But yeah, I made a tier list for Braxis, and after that it goes so tier 1, 2, so you have tier 1 and then tier 2, and in tier 3 I put tier 3 as a flex tier, because you know sometimes it's like that hero can be picked more than what a tier 2 would pick, but you know, again, it's just a really flex pick. So yeah.
Sure.
But again, so I categorize as warrior, assassin, and support. Specialists are gonna be put into the assassin category just because you're like doing the same thing. You know, you're doing damage. Like for example, Sylvan. Like if you picked up a Sylvanas, then like you're doing damage. And if you picked up Hammer, then it's like you're dealing damage. So the main point of it is that, like you're dealing damage. So yeah, I put them in that category.
I think it's probably a good point to make here too. Just because I've seen this around, for when you're playing a specialist role, just because the character says specialist does not equate to solo laner.
Yeah.
At all. Like Sylvanas, one of the worst people you could have in a solo lane.
Especially in this map too. Like she's gonna need that backup, you know, to like so that way it's like you can push with her. Like if you're pushing by yourself, then it's just like you can get flanked easily or die just because of like your HP not being too high or like compared to like a solo laner and so on. So like yeah, but anyways, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and just name these out, and then after that, I'll describe as to why these are highly prioritized in this map.
Okay.
So yeah, again, damage. I'm just gonna start out with damage dealers because I think damage dealers are a little bit more prioritized over tanks in the early draft. So for tier 1, I wrote down for assassin is Valla, Gul'dan, and Greymane. Valla is just a good all-around hero right now due to her W build, the multi-shot. So it's just like she gives a lot of she can do a lot of damage during the 4-man phase, and then also she can do really well in wave clears. Same thing for Gul'dan. Gul'dan, I've been seeing a lot of the Q1 and then the 4 consume soul, and the 7 is hunger by power or hunger something
Hunger
forgot
for power or something.
yeah,
like that.
It was something like that. Yeah, but like I've seen a lot of that build more recently, and
so is the Q the fell flame, the extra fell flame,
the extra range. Yeah. Yeah, that can be really good as well because also one, you can put out a lot of damage because it's like a 1-second cooldown.
Sure.
And so like you're gonna do a lot. You're gonna do a lot of wave clear, and you're also gonna do a lot of damage to whoever's in that radius.
And wave clear is so important on this map if you don't get the objective, especially.
Yeah, if you do not, like TBS said, if you don't get the point, then it's just like it's gonna be annoying for your team. But if you really have a good comp, like a good wave clear, then it really shouldn't be much of a problem. But again, you should always try to have at least one hero that can wave clear, so that way you don't get pushed back super hard. Because if you get pushed back, then it's like for example, if you get if the enemy team takes the point and the Zerg Rush is coming on the bottom side, and they end up taking your bottom fort, then you're gonna have a harder time trying to position and stay alive within the bottom camp for the bottom point for the next altar, next point.
Because you won't have anywhere to retreat to.
Yeah, and you won't
lose
have
a ton of vision.
And also you lose your what's it called? Your regen.
Your healing well.
Yeah, your healing well. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, you'll lose your healing well, and that was just be a hassle for you guys if your fort's down. So yeah, again, Valla, Gul'dan, Greymane. Greymane has his Q build, his cocktail build is just really good overall in terms like if you get to 7 and then you're able to finish your stack, you get that 3 to 4 second cooldown reduction on your Q. So it's like you have 5 seconds on every Q, so you just keep queuing on that wave, and you just end up clearing it. It's not the best, but it's better than any of the heroes if they have a wave clear kit. So yeah, and also Greymane just does a lot of damage too. So like he has the wave clear, and he also has the engage when you go in Worgen form and in human form again with the wave clear. So it's just like Greymane just does 2 things that
really well.
Yeah, really well. So yeah, that's all the tier 1 assassins that I have out. The warriors, Okay, so for the warriors, I have it down for Muradin, Arthas, Johanna, Zarya, and Dehaka. So I'm gonna go with Muradin first. Muradin has been more of a prioritized now, just because since ETC got a little nerf.
A little,
so like yeah,
just a little bit, guys.
Okay, I don't know about a little bit. Okay, you might be right. It actually did hurt ETC a lot. So
Yeah.
so like yeah, Muradin is just more picked just because the ETC nerf. So yeah, I mean, still even then, it's like Muradin can stay on the point for like a very long time since he's really beefy. So it's just like he's also, that's also a reason why he's good to pick up here. Arthas has been around for quite a while now with his buff, so he's just overall a really good hero to
sustain for days.
Yeah, sustain. Much. Yeah, and also like bring that CC into your team comp in the 4-man. Johanna is also really good in wave clear. And also she can also stay on the point like maybe not as long as Muradin, but she can stay on the point for a while as well. So that's but the main objective, the main point as to why I have Johanna as tier 1 is because she can really wave clear the Zerg rush if it does happen to you to you guys. Zarya, again, she's a really good hero. The shields is super annoying for the enemy team to deal with, and also you just do a lot of damage as well, so that's pretty much a point.
Sure.
Like,
Zarya is just Zarya. Like she's
Zarya is just Zarya. Like you take damage to deal more damage. It's just like, how is Zarya not broken? Like,
yeah,
she's just an all around good hero. Dehaka is so Dehaka obviously you put him in the solo lane, but Dehaka is really good as well just because of his global pressure. So like he can Z down to the 4-man bottom and also maybe get a kill, or just Z top if needed. Like the global is just really good. And also Dehaka has a decent wave clear on the Zerg rush, so yeah, Dehaka is an okay. I mean, you can probably first pick Dehaka, but in most cases you would try to either 2-3 him or 3-4 him. You really try not to really pick Dehaka. Like I personally think that like drafting your getting one of the 3 damage that I've mentioned would be better. So try to prioritize those first, especially Valla, Gul'dan. If you can get those during your first rotation, then I think it's really good. Like you'll be set. Now it's just like you can flex to whatever you want.
So so while we're talking about the tier 1 tanks, out of those, Dehaka's probably going to be the only one of those tanks or the only one of those picks that you'll want for solo lane. Yes. Yeah. And Zarya, you'll pretty much always want to pair up with another one of those tanks.
If you tend to pick up a Zarya, try to pick up Valla or Greymane, just because of how Valla's kit and Greymane's kit and like how players are playing them. So pretty much with the shield on either Valla or Greymane, it just allows that hero to really play up and just really pressure the enemy team and just push them out if they can, or kill if possible. But yeah, try to like pair them up again with Zarya Valla or Zarya Greymane. Pretty much just like treat Zarya like a Tass, but like you also do a lot of damage in the early game and can do a lot of damage later in the game as the games go on, obviously.
And the whole point is over pressuring your opponent's 4-man.
Yeah, so that way you guys are able to get that lane control and also just be able to cap that point without really having casualties.
So what about healers? What about our tier 1 supports?
So tier 1 supports, I have down Auriel, Malf, Lucio, and Tass. Tass obviously, again, vice versa with
Tass
the Zarya. Yeah, Tass is Tass, no point, shield broken, shield 2017, lol. But yeah. Lucio has been picked more too, even in the HGC, but I think all around that Lucio is pretty good as well, just because he can wall run and he can also wall run, do damage, and also like
it's free healing. right?
Yeah, it's
I
free
mean,
healing.
you're
Well,
literally
yeah,
not spending anything to heal people.
yeah, no mana really needs to be wasted. Like those are free healing for you guys. Although I would really draft Lucio into double support more, just because of his numbers on his heal isn't that high compared to Malf or Auriel. But at the same time, it's like if you guys build a 4-man to where like Lucio is okay to pick, so like Gul'dan, Lucio, Muradin, and then maybe Falstad or Lunara. Just for example, like that 4-man is like they're able to sustain them by themselves. So you have a Gul'dan where like once he hits level 4, like he can go that consume soul talent, and after that just steal steal the enemy's minions, and then after that get his HP back, or he can light a life steal with his W talent.
Sure.
I mean with his W, yeah. So like he has a way of sustaining himself. Lunara, maybe not so much, but like
she's
she
slippery.
can still, she can play safe in the back and also do just poke them out, blah blah blah, whatever. Yeah, and or Falstad, for example, he can E away, or he can just fly top and kill someone. So like just like make sure that like if you want to have Lucio in your comp, just make sure that like you can build around him so that way like you can sustain, because again his healing numbers aren't that high until later in the game.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Malf again, just an all-around good hero right now. Good heals, really high percentage on his heal. Also has CC follow-up, so he has his root, and yeah, he's just Malf is just Malf. Like he's just
plus
really
the
good
mana
right now. Yeah, and plus the mana too. Like you don't really have to spend so much, but at the same time, it's like his heals on Q is just really big. Auriel is really good in the format just because if you can pair up with Auriel. If you can pair up Auriel with Valla or Auriel with Gul'dan, you're gonna be in a really good spot, just because Gul'dan, Valla really are like the energy energy generator.
It's a battery. Great battery.
Yeah, the battery pretty much for the Auriel. So like you get that burst heal, and that heal is only 4 seconds until you go to that level 7 talent where your heals are cooldown to 2 seconds. So it's just like you would get that heal like every 2 seconds or every 4 seconds in the early game, and then after that 2 seconds. So it's
no mana.
Yeah, and again, no mana. So it's just like you're gonna be in a really good spot. And yeah, that's my tier 1 list.
Cool.
Okay, so let's move on to tier 2. Tier 2, so for warriors, I have ETC, Sonya, Tyrael, and Rexxar. So again, with the ETC thing, just because he got nerfed, he's in a little bit more of like a situational spot now, but ETC is still good hero all around. Like he can still slide mosh, all of that stuff. Like he's still good hero.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm a big ETC player, and so after the change, it feels like to me ETC really can't be a solo tank anymore, because he is so extremely squishy, but he can still pair okay with another front line, where you don't have to be completely reliant on being the front line, and then you become basically just a CC tank.
I really like pairing up ETC and Tyrael a lot, just because like once you guys hit that 10, you guys have that sync mosh. So it's just like if you're Tyrael and your ETC are synergized, like you guys obviously like ETC moshes first, and then or Tyrael mosh syncs first, and then after that ETC follows with a mosh or something. Like then that way like they have no way of disabling your mosh, and it's just a really good all around hero. I mean good combination. I've been seeing that a lot in SCL. Well, in the past, I don't know what it is now. Like I haven't been really playing just because of my internet, but like in the past it's like we've been kind of running like ETC Tyrael a lot, and it's just annoying to deal with. So yeah. So with Sonya, obviously you want to put Sonya in the solo lane. Like Sonya can just pretty much almost win every matchup, because with that I think it was the buff on her E where she I forgot the percentage that they buffed her.
It was a pretty ridiculous
spin.
healing buff
Yeah.
on spin to win.
So yeah, but pretty much the only reason why Sonya is kind of viable now is just because of that. But you really want to put, I think I should have had her in fucking tier 3. But yeah, you pretty much pick her as a flex, so that way it's like you don't get destroyed too much if like they counterpicked you. But in most cases, Sonya does win on every matchup in this map, so you should be okay. But again, just I really wouldn't try to prioritize so much on trying to pick Sonya. Like, there's still other good solo laners that can do a better job than her and probably deal more damage. Like, yeah. And Rexxar, you have the bear. You have 2 people pretty much on the solo lane. Like, you have one. Obviously, you have Rexxar, then you have his pet Misha. Like, Misha can just be on the point and just stay there while like Rexxar himself just just like pushes the lane and so on. So like that can be kind of annoying to deal with. But you know, with the right comp, like you can pick Falstad into that, and after that Falstad, and you put Falstad in your 4-man, then like Falstad can fly top and just kill that Rexxar, kill Misha, whatever. Yeah. So like double team Rexxar pretty much. Yeah. But overall, still, like, if they don't, then it's like Rexxar can be a good pick. But again, wouldn't really try to really pick him so much.
Sure.
But yeah, again. So for assassins, I have Zul'Jin, KT, Falstad, Jaina, Lunara, Chromie, and Sergeant Hammer. Zul'Jin has really been picked, I would really say has been picked more in Braxis than any other map, just because
so it seems like
yeah, because with Zul'Jin, when you go that give me the axe talent, you get your stacks a lot faster than any other, just because like you're forced to stay at that 4-man lane for quite a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why Zul'Jin is on my tier 2 list. But again, he would probably be the last resort if you can't get Valla, Gul'dan, or Greymane.
Okay.
And if you need like an auto attacker, then like yeah, you would pick Zul'Jin. So I have KT. KT has been picked more recently, and I think it's good that like he's been picked more recently, because I think that like he has a lot of burst, and he also has the CC follow up. So like if you can pair with like KT Valla or like KT Greymane, then you're pretty much set, because for example the reason is that like you have Valla as your finisher kill, or you have Greymane as your finisher, and like and KT is just there to really poke and CC or whatever, CC follow up, whatever it is. But like yeah, he brings the setup, and then you have the Greymane and you have the Valla to finish the kill. And also really good. His power spike is at what, 13. So like when you get that cooldown, when you use your W, it's just immensely good. Like you can just keep poking them out.
Well, and not only that, this is, and I saw this discussed on Twitter the other night. We're in a more of a melee heavy meta right now, and so that does make his living bombs that much more useful as far as the ease of spreading them around.
And also you really try not to really go for conviction. Actually, you should never really go for conviction. Just mana.
A lot of people try convection so much.
Convection. It's just not good. Like, you don't need that extra damage. Like, you're not really looking to finish the kill. Like I said, like KT is really meant for really just to poke, and then you have your finisher do their job. But yeah, but KT is really mana hungry, so that mana addict will just help you there, like getting those globes, and especially on a map where like you get 2 globes, like per like
the freebies.
Yeah, the freebies. So like what, the globes spawn like every minute, so you get that. So you get what, 2 globes every minute, and then but you still get that consistent 1 globe for when the minions come. But like still overall, like you're getting a lot of globes. So like that mana addict will just help you a lot.
And that talent will give you a shield, right? Once
Yes, it'll give you a shield as well, and
completion.
there's no cap onto mana addict as well. So you can get if you can get like let's say 100 globe. I mean that's not gonna happen, but like if you can get 100 globe, like you're just gonna have a lot of mana. So it's just like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good for you. So it's just like it's best to really take that mana addict, and then it's just like you don't have to really worry too much about your mana anymore. It's like
yeah, and that's something that's a really good point to be proactive about. When you've got those, when you're on those maps with those globe generators that are spawning, you know, every 45 seconds or every minute or whatever, it's incredibly powerful when you've got those globe talents to go down and actually contest those, because so many people just forget about those completely.
Oh yeah. I mean, having that globe can really, I mean, even though it looks like it won't help you, but like it can't help you just because like you're negating the enemy team from getting that globe while you guys get the globe. So it's just like it'll help you in the long run. So don't ever try to neglect that bottom globe so much. Like if you can get it, you can get it. Like just, you know, if you see in the HGC as well that like they always position in the bottom side so that way they can protect that, and then after that their team is able to get that globe while you neglect or negate the enemy from the enemy getting the globe.
Yeah, and I really like your point about mana addict. I know, like you said, a lot of people like Convection, but mana addict is only 20 globes. So that's not that much, and it's 15 extra mana per globe, and then you get 100% of your max mana as a shield for 4 seconds on a 45-second cooldown. That's pretty awesome. Good. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Okay, so KT done set aside. We have Falstad. Falstad, as I previously described him, is like he can be good in like kind of running, doing like a ring around the rosy with the enemy team. Like, you know, you can go top, cap that, and then after that wait for the enemy team to come, and then fly bottom, cap, and so on. So like you can just keep doing that in a way. I mean, obviously like the cooldown on your fly is like what 50 seconds or so, but like you can still run like make them run around for a while, for a bit. If
and you can turn that
correctly.
top lane into a 2v1 instantly, which is huge.
Yeah.
Because when you've only got one person, and this is something to really think about too, especially if you're ahead or if you have the opportunity to gank, with that one man on top, especially if you've got the global, if you can perform a successful gank up top, that will really hurt the enemy team, because they will either have to divert someone from bottom top just so they don't miss the soak, and then that just makes it that much easier for you to push in bottom, or they leave it until the person respawns and they lose out on a ton of XP and push on top.
Yeah, it's probably best to if you see a Falstad, you should probably best to really just do a 2-3. Meaning, like, I mean, obviously, like, the Falstad is gonna be in the bottom in the early game, so, like, it's gonna be, so pretty much it's gonna be, like, a 4-1 to 2-3, so, like, you might lose a little bit in the bottom, but, like, if you really have a good 3-man, so, like, let's say a Valla medic and then a good tank, so, like, Johanna maybe, then it's, like, you guys can sustain in the bottom lane for a while, and then, like, whatever you guys have for your soul laner, and then, your soul laner, and then one of your damage dealers goes top as well, and so that forces the enemy team with the Falstad to start doing a 2-3 as well, so that now it's like your solo lane won't get punished as much as if it was a 1-4 that you guys started out with, and then after that Falstad flying top, making that 2-1. So that's always good. It's always good to really know, but at the same time, it's like I hardly see Falstad really been picked in the HL in this map. He's only been picked in Flex and as to in the HGC. But who knows? We might be seeing Falstad more in the HL just because of how teams have been playing him, and people are probably amazed by like, oh, how good he is on this map. So they might just do it as well. So you know, it's always good to have that type of information.
Sure.
So yeah, Jaina being the another pick. Again, Jaina I would prioritize KT over Jaina first, and if you can't get, I mean, if you can't get the KT, then yeah, you can get Jaina. But you really want to try to get Jaina when you really have a good CC, and then after that, you have that follow up damage. And that's pretty much it for the Jaina. It's like if again, if you really have a good a CC, and then that Jaina, and you don't really have much damage, that Jaina can just help you, because if you're able to sit one person for like about 3 to 4 seconds, then you have your blizzard. Your blizzard comes down 3 times, and like it'll deal more damage the second and third time if that target is already blizzard. I mean, not blizzard, but like
has her trait.
Has that trait. Yeah, that trait. I forgot what to call it. I'm sorry, but yeah. So that's really it. Lunara is good. I think Lunara has been picked more overall now, just because of how the meta is. Where like like how we've mentioned that the meta is pretty much just multiple melees, like a lot of melees. So that Lunara just really slows down.
Frostbite.
Slows down the Arthas, slows down a lot of stuff. It's just like they can't get to you. But even then, it's like the Lunara has a decent wave clear. But at 7 though, if you go Nature's Calling, which I think you should if you end up picking Lunara in this map, Nature's Calling just really helps clear everything in this map. So like you can clear the Zerg rush really well, you can clear the Merc camps really well, you can clear the boss really well. It's just, she's a good hero for a PvE purposes. Like she's really good in BoE as well. Like if you go Nature's Calling, like you'll deal a lot of damage to the Immortals. So it's just like she's good. She's really good in PvE. But right now, again, with how the meta is, she can also be good in heavy melees. Chromie has been picked as more as well recently. With Chromie is like you can stay far away in your 4-man and also just be able to poke them down with your heavy damage. So I mean that's mostly the reason why you would pick Chromie. Is like if let's say like you have a decent wave clear, so like gray main, and then after that you want to pick that Chromie. So that Chromie is there for the poke, and after that again gray main is there for the finisher, or maybe even a Chromie Tychus. I did see that what team that did that? A team did that. It was a Superstar that did that in the Towers of Doom. Not Towers of Doom, sorry, Tomb of the Spider Queen. They ran, I mean, like the main idea that I'm trying to get is that like, Chromie with something else, so Chromie and the finisher. But like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just mainly for that poke, because with Chromie, when with a map like Braxxis, where people are going to be. And it's several times. Like when the beacons are active, that's probably where people are going to be. If
and with Chromie's present, it's just like you force them to go out unless they want to sit there and just take all that damage. But like Chromie just does a lot of damage if you're able to hit the skill shots. And then we have Sergeant Hammer. Sergeant Hammer can be really annoying, just because she can just sit outside of the point and also just go in her turret mode, and after that just has that immense range and just keep dealing damage. So like she can also, so like if she positioned correctly as well in her turret mode, then she can deal damage to the person that's on the point and also wave clear. So that's pretty much why she's been picked kind of a lot. I mean, I wouldn't say a lot, but she's kind of been picked maybe in HL more than HGC, but yeah, that's really it. So yeah, that's my assassins for Braxis for tier 2. For support, I have Morales, Monk, and Rehgar. Rehgar, let's go with him real quick. Rehgar's heals is not that great, so you probably want to try to, if you end up picking Rehgar, you probably want to try your best to really draft heroes where like they can sustain themselves.
Sure.
Yeah, and Monk is the same thing as Rehgar. Like, yeah, you got that AoE heal, but that heal is like every 7. Yeah, it's not the biggest heal.
It's a little
compared
fart.
to like, yeah. But I mean, it's like Monk. I may be a little bit biased, but like Monk could still be good. Like, I would maybe even put him. No, I wouldn't really put him on tier 1. But yeah, just I would pick Monk over Rehgar, just because you have that level 4 talent Earth ally or Spirit ally if needed, and it's just it'll just help you in the long run. Morales, you really don't want to pick. I mean, I would put Morales in a tier 1, but because like she just really gets focused down a lot. If you see a Morales that's just like, I would put her in tier 2 just because again,
you have to have the team to protect her.
Yeah, you have a team to protect her. If you don't have a team to protect her, then like Morales is just gonna get dumpster on, and you're just gonna lose that support. So it's really best to really make sure that you build. If you're really looking to draft Morales, make sure that you have a really good three man, or make sure that you really have a beefy front line, and then after that, go ahead and draft that Morales. I do see sometimes where teams do pick up Morales first, like, but just make sure that like you also pick a hero that can pair up with her. So like Morales, Gul'dan is one of them. Really good. Like she can just keep healing the Gul'dan, and Gul'dan can just keep putting out that damage. Just keep doing damage and not having to worry about so much about his HP. Zul'Jin is another good pair up with Morales. Valla is another good pair. Valla and Morales is maybe a little bit better than. Actually no, Gul'dan and Morales is better. But again, still with like Morales heals on Valla, it's like it just allows the Valla to really pressure the enemy team out of the lane. Yeah, I think that's it for my tier 2.
Okay.
Tier 2 list. Tier 3 is flex. I named it as flex because again, sometimes it's like they can be above the tier 2 heroes that I mentioned. But for example, with the assassins, the only one is Tychus that I have him down for tier 3. But yeah, like I said, how I mentioned with the Chromie and Tychus, like you can put that pair together and you can still do. It'll still do a lot of damage in the format, but again, you wouldn't really try to pick Tychus in this map just because he does have an okay wave clear, but it's not really good compared to again Valla, Gul'dan, Agreement.
There's a lot of better choices.
Yeah, there's a lot of better choices. And for supports, I have Brightwing, Uther, and Tyrande. You normally never want to pick any of these 3 supports unless they are like your final. Like, but it's never the case where like Morales is picked, or where like you're not gonna see like 5 supports and then the tier 1 and tier 2 heroes are like picked already, so now you're left with Brightwing, Uther, Tyrande. Like it's never gonna happen. So it's just like I really would try to get away from these heroes, but again, it's like they would be the last resort. But sure. Tyrande can be good in the 4-man though, just because with that follow-up CC. With
as
that
part of
stun,
a 2 support team.
Yeah, you can do that. Brightwing as well, but again, it's just Brightwing has really fell out of the meta, so I wouldn't really try to pick up Brightwing so much. If you're really looking for a global pressure, then I would either pick Dehaka or Falstad. Those are the 2. Never really want to try to pick Brightwing here. Uther. You're gonna struggle if you put Uther in the format, so
sure.
Try not to, just because
this may be moot once his rework comes out.
Yeah, it might be a lot better. So yeah, Uther, you really wouldn't try to pick him so much, just because again, his mana cost is just so high, and he just doesn't. Yeah, it's not that good right now. Yeah, but I mean, it's so not that good right He might be good in like other maps, like, but like he would be very, very situational picked.
Sure.
As you saw in HGC today, that like they picked EU. I think it was what was it, Flying Ducks, or Flying Ducks again. Yeah, Playing Ducks. There you go, against Team Dig, right? I think it was against Team Dig. Like they picked Uther, and then that was a really weird. It worked. It worked for them. Like it worked. Like. Yeah, but yeah,
sometimes you can make things work if you have like a pocket pick or something.
Yeah, but if you played it right.
We'll be sure to go, especially since you're going to be switching to support. We'll be sure to give a full rundown of Uther when his rework comes out too.
Okay, and then for warriors, I have Leoric, Stitches, Diablo, Varian, Chen, Anub. Leoric will be picked more And also Anub as well, just because with the Leoric buff, he can do a-okay in the solo lane, but you wouldn't really try to pick Leoric so much in this map. Anub again, flex pick. If they have heavy mage, then you know Anub can be there for you to pick up and also just negate all that magic damage. Chen can be picked only if the enemy team does not have any CC whatsoever, and sometimes that can happen where they they just don't have CC, and so Chen can be picked, and so that way it's like your drink will just not be disrupted. Varian, if it were for me, I would put Varian in the solo lane more than I would put him in the format, unless you again have a really good two-man CC in the bottom lane. So let's say like ETC's Malf or like ETC Muradin, then you can put the Varian there if you like. But in most cases, how drafts are, they usually do like one main tank, one support, and then 2 DPS. So yeah, that's why I said like Varian is probably a very situational, but you probably wouldn't try to pick him so much. Diablo again. I feel like, honestly, I don't know why Diablo hasn't been picked a lot. But I do know that.
Do you think Diablo will be coming back in a little bit more now that ETC has gotten knocked down so much?
Well, the reason with Diablo is that, like, yes, he has a really good HP pool, but like his CC isn't that good compared to the other CC tanks. Like Diablo is only able to CC one person, while like for example Muradin, yeah, he has one stun, but he also has another CC where he's able to slow the enemy team and also reduce the enemy's attack speed down. So yeah, so the point is that like probably Diablo isn't picked so much just because that like
it's very single target oriented.
Yeah, very single target. Stitches probably not so much, but I do.
He's the cheese like pocket pick type tank.
He would be like the cheese hero to pick up if you guys want to do that. But again, in most cases, you wouldn't really want to pick Stitches.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that concludes my tier list. Oh, actually, I haven't really talked so much about the solo laners. So with the solo laners, it's like you can put up, let's see, Ragnaros. Ragnaros is a really good pickup as well, in that solo lane as well, just because like he can molten core and do whatever he needs to be doing if you know, against a Zerg rush, or if he wants to just do a lot of damage in like a team fight, he can just molten core there. It's not that far. Let's see what else.
So you mentioned Dehaka for solo, Sonya for solo, Ragnaros for solo.
You can well, okay, so let me talk about this real quick. Since GFE pulled it off with the Zagara picked in the top lane, I mean the way how GFE plays it, they play their Braxis as a 2 and 3. So is that way? Is like Zag has a safe way. Feels more safe than she would be if she was that solo laner.
Sure.
So I mean, so yeah, like pretty much is like Zagara is like their pocket pick for that map. But with the Nidus, it's like she can be super annoying because she can split in the bottom lane real fast, and after that go in the top lane, split push. Like she can do all of that, and she can just put twice the amount of pressure than like let's say a Falstad would, just because you know with the Nidus is an instant, while Falstad's fly and stuff is like what, every 50 seconds or so on like that. So like yeah, so her presence is very annoying, and you know it's very good if that's how your gameplay is. You know, if you're really looking to just really pressure them out, then Zagara would be the pick. But again, Zagara would probably be the flex pick, so the last pick. Yeah, you really want to pick Zagara.
You're picking Zagara because you have a specific strategy made for that.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Zeratul, Zeratul would really be picked in the 4-man. Zeratul can be picked on this map just because with but it's really more of like personal preference. Like if you're like if your teammate has a if your teammate really knows how to play Zeratul really well, then like Zeratul can do good for you just because with the VP and also like if you have a comp that's really more of a setup and like you need that one major setup which is Zeratul's VP, then like yeah, you could pick that. But again, Zeratul would be very flexible and he can be annoying. Like he can, you know, he has that cloak where like he can go invis and then after that if nothing is happening bottom, then you can rotate top and just kill that solo laner without them knowing when you rotate because you're going to be cloaked majority of the time.
Sure.
And yeah, I think that's
well, that's good. This is oh no.
Sorry, actually Thrall is one more solo lane. Okay. Although Thrall has been picked hasn't really been picked so much, but he can still do well in the solo lane just because he has that self-sustain and he can do a lot of damage like later in the game, you know, with the Sunder or with the if your team needs like that slow, then you can go Earthquake and you know just catch up to the teammate. It's just yeah, Thrall is an okay pick as well, but in general cases you probably wouldn't want to pick him so much because there's someone that just does a better job with him, you know, like
which is why you haven't seen him a whole lot lately.
Yeah, I think ultimately just because with the Ragnaros that got that was released and then after that the nerf on Thrall, that it's just made Thrall really fall out. And like because Rag just does everything that Thrall does, like Rag can self-sustain with his Q, he can also wave clear really well, and he can just also poke, and he can also just molten core, you know, even poke even more, and he can also like escape if needed to a lot better. So yeah, that's that would probably be my guess as to why Thrall hasn't been picked so much. But again, in overall, Thrall can still be picked, but just again maybe situational if Rag doesn't get picked or like if Rag gets banned or so.
Okay, cool. So that's and thank you so much for the overview. And like Juuki said, we'll have the tier list in the comments of the video down below. But
yeah,
it's really good, like I said, especially for that map, to know priorities of what you need to be shooting for when you do a draft on this map, because it can give you a huge leg up or it can really be a detriment to you if you don't draft well.
Yeah. So overall, just make sure that like make sure you prioritize your damage dealers first, just because there's very limited damage dealer that can wave clear. I mean, there's a lot of damage dealers, but like again, you know, there's only a few that can wave clear really well. And also note that I along the way I did make some changes to the tier list, so I will in the comments below I will give the correct one. So yeah, what I've said now is a little bit, I was fixing it on the way because in my head, when I first made this tier list, I was like, oh okay, this can work blah blah, but then as like I start discussing with this blah blah, you know, it's just like, oh actually he can be flex pick and then this person can be like a tier 2. So just be aware of that in the comments below will be the updated tier list.
Sure. So also we wanted to talk tonight a little bit about one of the core fundamentals of heroes, and that is XP soaking. XP soaking, especially early game, I mean it is throughout the entire game, but especially early game, is so incredibly crucial. And since we're talking about this from like a Hero League perspective, this is something that I noticed throughout a lot of the Hero League games I play, that people do not prioritize correctly. And so I wanted to run through kind of the basics, what you should be looking for, when to prioritize soaking, when to prioritize your objectives, and then finally when is the time to kind of group up and start doing stuff, with kind of making sure we take talent tier advantages and such into the equation as well.
Okay. Actually, yeah, okay, okay. So I'm gonna go base it off by maps just because it would be a lot easier that way. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and just talk about Tomb of the Spider Queen just because Tomb of the Spider Queen is like kind of heavy on PvE a little bit just because with the if you turn in on the spider, if you turn in, then you get that spider to really help you push. So yeah, with Tomb in the early game, what you're gonna do is if obviously if you get that turn in, you want to do a 3-1-1. So 3 being in the top lane, 1 being in the middle, and then 1 being in the bottom lane. Obviously the bottom lane is the solo lane, so you probably just want to keep that solo lane there just because you really aren't gonna get too much out of the first tribute just because it's way too early in the game and you don't really do that much damage again in the early game, so it's best to really just soak and try to out level the enemy team. Just, you know, try to get yeah, just try to out level the enemy team. And then after that after that you really want to try to I mean and then after that it really depends on how the game is. So like if the game is to where like you guys are team fighting really well and you guys are winning, then like yeah, you guys can 5-man push or so on. But in most cases in Tomb you really want to try to have a 1-4 on the second turn in, so like 1 being in the middle, so that's where your solo lane goes into the middle, and after that you push and then 4-man top or something, just because like the win condition for Tomb is top lane just because there's a boss there. So if you're able to really push out top, then yeah, you have a higher chance of winning the game than if you were to push in the middle or if you were pushed to the bottom. Yeah. I mean, some cases it can happen where like you guys do end up winning just because you guys push super hard in the bottom, but like that would also like it would also has to come down to like how your comp, like does your comp push really well, and like can you guys team fight really well, and then so on. It's like yeah,
and you can kind of take those type lessons and move them to any map really. As we talked about before, one of the first things you should do when you start a map is say, okay, where are my best end potentials, pretty much. So Sky Temple, your end potential, your best end potential is going to be bottom lane. Cursed Hollow, your best end potential is going to be either top lane or bottom lane. Warhead Junction, best kill potential is going to be either top lane or bottom lane. And like Juuki said, these are because these are boss lanes, and so you got to constantly be looking at that. And then sometimes you have to prioritize those lanes, just because of the extra PvE objective. Dragonshire, bottom lane, extremely important. No boss, but there's 3 merc camps that will push for you in that bottom lane. So you definitely, when those type of things happen, you want to try and put some extra emphasis on those lanes, because if you can win them and you can push them further, that will just give you that much more of an advantage later. If you can take the opportunity to grab a boss, then that boss will mean more, you know, later on in the end.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, never. Oh, okay. And also in D-Shire is like, yeah, I mean, bot lane is just good for D-Shire especially. Like, it's just good to really gain control overall. I mean, yeah, like what TBK said, like you have the 3 merc camps, but if you're able to really push bottom side to their core, then it's like you have more free space compared to if you push mid, because now it's like, so let's say like you push mid, you got their keep, and then now you're on their core, but also the enemy team is alive. Now your position is gonna be a little bit narrowed down just because like you have the top keep alive and you have the bottom keep alive, so it's really like you know, it's like, again, your position is going to be narrowed down. But if you take that bottom keep, then your position is going to be a little bit more wide, just because
wide open
just
space.
Because just like, and the only, you know, you have the top keep alive still, but that top keep isn't going to hit you because you're so far away from it. The only keep that's gonna hit you is mid. So like, and also it's like, it's very, and like how how it's structured, like the middle bottom lane and the middle lane is like you guys can really just pass the mid keep and just not take those free keep damage, mid keep damage.
And to the inverse of that too, top lane in Dragonshire is going to be one of your worst lanes. Because as you're going into the keep, you have to go on to this small choke point that's not going to give you a ton of room to maneuver. It's just a tiny bridge. So you don't want that to be the lane you focus on, because every time you push down that lane, you're putting yourself in more danger just because you have less room to maneuver, which will give the enemy an advantage, especially as they push from the other side.
Yeah. In most maps, you really just want to push top just for the XP purposes. So for example, D-Shire being the one, actually I think it's really just D-Shire being the only one, because every other map really is just really bad. I mean, yeah, there's some other, I mean, what if you go back to what I previously said in terms of like how to position during the core, then like yeah, you just really want to push top for XP purposes in D-Shire, mostly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that discussion, I really want to talk about the early game Sky Temple, because it seems that sometimes like people really just goes for the temples regardless of how the situation is.
Okay.
So what I want to point out is that in the early game, so the first phase of the temple when it spawns, you have the middle and then you have the top. Now if you're it's best to really try to get one temple so that way you don't lose a lot of map pressure, because if the enemy team's able to get two temples, then you're already losing the game, because now they have mid pushing. You know, your mid fort is almost dead. You have your bottom and you have your top fort gone, because if you're able to get one tower on the top lane, then that temple is just going to destroy that top fort. Just the way of like how it's prioritized in the top lane, because it'll go from like from the top lane fort, top fort, it goes from like the top tower first, and then the gate, and then the bottom tower, and after that the well, and then after that your fort. So that's why it's always a lot easier to, I mean, it's I don't know why.
If you can get a little damage out onto the front structures at first, the temple will mean a lot more.
Yeah, and then after that, again, your fort will just get destroyed just by that first phase. Top, middle is, again, it's prioritized a little bit differently. So yeah, you would that top or that middle temple wouldn't really take the middle fort compared to, again, the top. But again, if you're already losing in the XP experience, it's okay to give up the bottom fort, the bottom temple, and just soak the two lanes, the top and the middle, just because, you know, there's really nothing that you can do in the bottom. And if you lose that well in the bottom, that bottom lane on the second phase, temple phase, then it's gonna be a struggle. It's gonna be a hassle for you to really win that fight. And also remember, if you guys are already losing if you guys are getting out rotating, you guys are losing in XP, then yeah, it's really best to not. It's best to really just try to push top, try to get that wall if you haven't, or try to get that fort if you haven't. And also same thing for mid. Mid is probably best to really just soak it, just because of the distance between the middle and the bottom. Like, they can easily rotate to the middle and kill you, but with top lane, it's like from top to bottom, it's like it's gonna take them a while. So it's probably best you can probably overextend in the top lane a little bit and try to get that fort if you can.
But did you have anything else on that one?
I think that's really it. And again, with Sky Temple, it's like bottom lane is your go-to end game. And again, with how in general, when you're trying to end the game, when you're on the core, it's best to really focus on the top lane if you can, or the bottom lane. Just because, like, yeah, you don't have to deal with two keeps shooting at you, while you can only deal with one, which is the middle keep shooting at you guys, if it does happen. But
yeah, for sure.
You really want to try to end. Oh, sorry. I want to add on. You really want to try to end the game either going through top or bottom. Besides D-Shire, D-Shire should always try to be your bottom lane.
For sure, and that's something really good to think about. Like, a lot of people don't think about like entry and exit points as far as ending the game goes, but that's something that you can be thinking of just right from the very beginning of the map, knowing the map you're on. So let's talk about like starting out in the game. So these days it's very popular for everyone to go 5-man and have the big brawl in the middle. That's fine, whatever. You'll have to kind of gauge which team has the earlier, better level fight. But regardless, that's all fun. Everybody loves to do it. The problem with that is you do not want to do that to the detriment of your soaking. You want to make sure that you can get from that middle and you have somebody that needs to go top and somebody that needs to go bottom when those first waves hit, so that you don't miss anything. Because remember, early game kills are not worth that much at all. Like,
I mean, first kill, it's like you said, it's not worth a lot, but it can like be a little bit of relief for you, just because, like, okay, they lose one person, so now it's like the pressure on you is off a little bit, but it's only for a few seconds, obviously. So like, yeah, again, but what TPK said, it's best to really not try to go for the first blood, if possible. But yeah, you should really decide on what you want to do in the early game first, based off your team comp and based off their team comp. If their team comp is far better than you in the early game, and like they can easily just kill someone, then it's best to really just not try to 5-man brawl that middle, and just really just go into position and of your whatever laning position that you have set up. But obviously, I want to note as well with I've seen a lot of HCC players and like high level players where, like, if you have a Dehaka, then it's like you can go straight bottom and push that lane, and then after that burrow top or fly top, whatever it is. If you have a global, then it's like you can do that. So it's a good thing as well, because now it's like you have 4 people mid, you have 1 in the bottom. Now you have 2 lanes pushing towards them while they're all trying to 5-man brawl. So that just makes them lose soak in the bottom lane a little bit, but those soaks can be huge in the long run.
Yeah, it's all about gaining that early advantage, right? And then once you gain it, just keeping it. And that kind of ties into being aware of talent tiers. And this is something that seems like it should be obvious, but at the same time, be aware of 4, be aware of 7, and definitely be aware of 10 for the early game. You normally do not want to pick a fight at those, and if it is an objective that you can give up, say a single tribute on Cursed Hollow, or like that bottom temple for Sky Temple, it's normally going to be better for you to give that up and continue soaking to get on the same talent tier than going in a talent tier down and even a level or 2 down on top of that, and then losing or dying because of that, and then setting yourself even further behind.
Yeah. I want to say this just to point out that, like, sometimes, in most cases, yes, it's really best to really not fight if you're a talent down, but if you're able to get a pick, then by all means, you can do that.
You can get the numbers advantage.
Yeah, you can go in and try to get in position for that objectives or whatever. Or if your team comp is really, really good, like it's a really good 5-man compared to whatever comp that they have, their 5-man, then it's like, yeah, you can do that too. But again, that's super rare. I know in Korea they do that a lot. Like they don't really care too much if it's a talent down. Like they'll just go in and just run you down or whatever. Like I mean yeah, they still consider it, but like it also comes down to like the position as well. Like, are they in position to do this? Are they in position to do that? If not, then they just back off, obviously, and soak. But in most cases, like Koreans just really like to fight. Like I really enjoy watching Koreans because like the way they fight, yeah, they're super aggressive, and like the team fight is just always smooth, and it's just like you think you think that one team is like lost, but you know they come back with it's just marvelous to watch. It's just fantastic. It's just beautiful to watch. Like I'm just like, damn. I wish NA was like that, you know? 'Cause just like with NA is like if one is down, then we all back off. But it's just like, no, I don't know why. What's going on? But
but from a Hero League perspective, don't expect your teammates to be Koreans.
Yeah, it's just again, in most cases, it's best to really just soak it off. If
you want to give yourself as much of an advantage, or at least an even playing field as possible, especially from a Hero League perspective, because then that will give your less coordinated team a better chance to succeed during the fights.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of gives you a little bit of insight into objective versus soaking. When, Juuki, do you guys normally say, okay, it's time to party, it's time to 5-man up and get some stuff done?
So let's go back in Sky Temple a little bit, because I feel like Sky Temple is a little bit easier to explain. So the way you can tell by when you want a 5-man is obviously, one, you gotta make sure that you guys are in the same talent tier, or you're close to being to the same talent tier. If you guys are close to being the same talent tier, then okay, you get 5-man up. And usually, like this, I'm talking about this scenario right now is in the bottom lane, the second phase of the temple, where like, you know, the bottom one only spawns. But yeah, you want to make sure that you guys are in the same talent tier, and you guys want to make sure that like you do not have any map pressure being on you. So for example, most teams, or just in general, that like most people take that bruiser camp, and then after that leave that pushing top while you guys 5-man bottom. So like make sure that like that is cleared, or make sure that like you have your bruiser camp also pushing in the top lane, so that way both of the bruiser camp collide at each other in the top lane. And then yeah, that's really just pretty much an indication that like whether you should go or not in the early team fight. And also once you guys are 10, you want to make sure as well that like you guys have all of your cooldowns. If you guys do not have your cooldowns, then it's best to back off, because you don't and
that's huge. Fighting, even if you're even talent tier, fighting without your ultimates. And we have the UI now, guys. You can easily just glance up and see exactly whose ultimates are on cooldown and whose aren't. And there's some that are much more key than others. So say your Jaina, Ring of Frost is down, probably best to wait to engage until our Ring of Frost is back up, if you can help it. ETC, if his mosh pit's down, probably better, if you can help it, to wait to engage until his mosh pit's back.
I really wouldn't say too much about the Ring of Frost. Like, even though if you guys have a really good CC comp, then like that Jaina damage follow-up will still be good to you, with regardless if you don't have Ring of Frost or not. But let's say like you do have Zeratul and Jaina, so you have that VP ring combo and your ring is down, then yeah, okay, it's best to really back off. Yeah. But yeah, again with ETC Mosh, obviously if you guys do not have your Mosh, then it's best to really back off. If you don't have your Sank on Tyrael, then it's best to back off. With Gul'dan, I mean Gul'dan, like regardless, like you can still do a lot of damage even without a fear, so it's okay to get engaged. But like mainly the initiators CC, if your initiator CCs do not have their cooldowns, then it's best to really back off.
Yeah, that's probably a much better way to put it, is initiation CCs. You want to make sure those are up for your team fight engages. And at the same time, it's kind of good just to be aware as you team fight what enemy ultimates were used, so that you can at least roughly gauge if a person will have that back up or yet or not. So if like an enemy ETC uses Mosh, it gets interrupted or whatever, and then 30 seconds later you have a chance to engage him again, you know Mosh is not up. We don't have to worry about that for this fight.
I was actually gonna explain that, but I think you got that covered. Like just like it's a really good it's a really good trait to know the enemy's cooldown, because that
Mm-hmm.
also kind of determines like if you guys are able to engage or not, you know. So that's always good to have. So like make sure that like you guys know each initiator's cooldown, or like any sessionals cooldowns. So like again, you know, with the VP ring, if that's on cooldown, then it's like you guys can fight. If Lucio's sound barrier is down, then like you guys can fight. If Twilight meme is down on Malf, then it's like you guys can fight. You know, if Crystal is down on Auriel, then you guys can fight. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, yeah. It's always good to know the cooldowns on the ulta, because again, that can determine if you guys can fight or not. But you know, most cases, if all five, you know, if five of your teammates have all your ultis up and five of their ultis is up, then by all means clash at each other, but see who wins. That really just comes down to mechanics now. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And from a Hero League perspective, if someone's not soaking something, it's always good to say something in chat. If no one does it, a lot of times you going to do it will be a benefit, especially if you tell your team, stay safe, I'm soaking. You don't want to have to soak as the tank necessarily. You usually want to be with other people,
Yeah.
but sometimes you have to do it. If you're the only one who is paying attention, you're the only, or if people aren't responding, sometimes it can be more of a benefit for you to be soaking, just so that you're not getting that much further and further behind.
If you tend to be the tank and you end up being the one to soak, even though, and because your teammates won't respond or your teammates wouldn't cooperate, then what you can do, oh excuse me, what you can do is you can soak that one lane, and then after that try to regroup with your teammates, and then if nothing happens, then you go back. So it's pretty much like you gotta you gotta like do a little bit more work,
Got to be
just
a lot more
because, yeah.
proactive. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta be more proactive, because you know you gotta make sure like this lane is pushing, and then after that, like you can come back to your teammates, and if you know you gotta let you gotta know when it's time to say that, like, okay, I can't do anything here, so I leave and go back soaking, just because you know teammates wouldn't want to do the job, so you gotta do the job for them. But in most cases,
make sure to communicate. If a lane's not getting soaked, make it your point to know who's a good solo laner, who's got good wave clear on your team, and be like, hey, Kel'Thas, can you cover that lane?
Yeah, and also it's just like for me personally, the way how I climb, because I have a Smurf right now, and it's like and D2. So what I did was like if I have to be the one to solo lane, and like I'm playing, let's say, gray main or gray main, especially gray main, then it's like, okay, I can push this lane, and then I can just you know, deal damage to the wall or so on, you know. Just yeah, like if you're playing a damage dealer and you end up having to be in the solo lane, and like their solo laners aren't there as well, then it's like it's best to really just forget about it and just push, try to get that fort if you can or whatever. Just try to get that wave going, get that lane going.
Yep. And at the same time, of course, making sure to again check that mini map every couple of seconds. Just glance down, see who's all there. Oh, there's 5 people there. I'm fine. Oh crap, there's 2 people there. They might be rotating on me.
Especially if you're playing as a solo laner, it's really best that you check your mini map, because sometimes it's like you can get ganked and then you wouldn't even know about it, because you know obviously sometimes your teammates just don't communicate. So it's just like, yeah, just try to just, you know, make sure you watch that mini map when you're playing the solo lane, because sometimes it can happen where like 2 or 3 of the enemy team rotate top and try to kill you or so. I mean, it even happens sometimes in the HGC games where like they like, you know, one of the teammates didn't communicate, or one of the like the solo laner didn't see, so like he ended up dying because you know of a four man gank or so. So like it's best to really watch that mini map, so that way like you don't feed, you
watch
don't lose
the mini
that XP
map,
as well.
know how far you can overextend. If people are missing, back off a little bit until people start showing back up. If if all 5 are showing or 4 are showing, then yeah, feel free to push a little further off, but make sure you keep an eye on the map, because once another 1 or 2 people disappear, time to pull back again a little bit. And that just keeps you safe, and not letting yourself get early game gank is just a big morale thing for your team too. If you can make it through early game, no ganks, just soaking, that's not a bad thing. You don't have to necessarily be getting kills left and right, as long as you're soaking correctly and not dying. All right. Any other XPing tips or anything of that sort before we wrap things up?
I think that's all I got. In terms of I think for the tip, that's it.
Cool. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This is kind of more of a yes.
Sorry, I keep...
No, go. Thoughts?
Everything. Well, since everything is done, I want to make an announcement as well. That I'll start be doing a private coaching now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that private coaching session. So if you guys want to contact me, you can DM me on Twitter, or if you're in the same server as I am in Discord, then feel free to message me on Discord as well.
What is your Twitter?
My Twitter is Juuki Hots. You can find me there. And the price for it is so first entry will be $50. For 2 hours, and then after that, if you like the session, then and continue, then it's gonna be $20 for 2 hours. For subsequent weeks. Yes.
Cool. Awesome. And so this is a really good opportunity, guys. This is a good framework you can use to kind of gauge where you're at, to get some really good unbiased feedback on game replays and mechanics and such, just to help you get better. Coaching it's very good. It's very helpful. It's why we're doing this type of thing every week, just to kind of help you out, try to equip you as much as possible. Because like Juuki says a lot of this game is draft. It really is. And so if you can take that knowledge and then combine it with ever improving mechanical skills, get really good at a pool of heroes that you can feel comfortable with and play with, then you will improve.
Yep. And then with that private coaching session like that, I can really go into more depths with you guys, because this is really all generalizing. So like, yeah, it's just really generalizing. So like, if I were to sit down with you one-on-one, then like I would understand, or like you would understand more if like what you're doing wrong and so on.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of scenarios in this game, and it's a lot.
There is.
So like, yeah.
And
so,
with every map they add, there will just be more. More.
Oh yeah, there's also a new announcement on that tomorrow.
Yep, new map, new hero coming.
Yeah, I heard it was Genji. We'll see. Too bad I won't be playing.
All I can say is they're both awesome.
Ooh, wait, ooh.
Yes, I've played both of them, and they're both fantastic.
Ooh.
Yep.
I hope it's Genji. I just heard rumors on like Reddit or so on, but yeah.
Reddit loves their rumors.
Yeah. I just listen to them because I don't know how they get their information, but
Reddit be crazy. They always are coming up with all this sort of stuff. I data mined this. Oh my gosh, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Reddit, you crazy. That regardless, it's going to be a lot of fun, and anytime Blizzard adds a new hero, or especially a new battleground into the game, so much stuff can shift. Metas can form around specific battlegrounds anyways too, which is really cool. So we'll definitely be talking some about that next week. But thank you guys so much for checking this out. This is a little more of a podcast oriented format.
Yeah,
this time
I apologize. My
Juuki, dang it.
I'm sorry.
Next week, hopefully, if Juuki's internet is back to normal, we'll be back with our strategy replay and draft sessions. So Yeah, it'll be good. But again, definitely go check Juuki out at Juuki Hots, and for those lessons, we'll have the information for those on the YouTube description as well, and twitch.tv Juuki_ if you want to follow him when he starts streaming a bunch again once the internet's fixed.
Yeah.
You can also follow me at TBKZord on Twitter and twitch.tv/TBKZord, where all of these, for the most part, will be airing live every Sunday night at 7 Pacific, 9 Central Time. You can also check out my podcast, Lords of the Storm, at Lords of the Storm on Twitter, and then twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm has all the links for that. So, until next time, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.